What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Lynette's Perspective. Thank you so much for joining me, and I appreciate you clicking on the video. And for those of you who are new to my channel, I review reality TV shows because usually I'm on social media looking at a lot of news and documentaries and doom scrolling and things that are just kind of dark and disturbing or just really sad news stories. So I love coming on here talking about reality TV because it's fun. It's a lot more fun to talk about, and it's just kind of an outlet for me. But before we get into Married at First Sight, if you all could do me a huge favor and hit that like button if you enjoy the content, and be sure to hit that subscribe button as well. Thank you so, so much. If I can just be honest here, I felt like the reunion was disappointing, and I was bored for most of it. But there are some things I wanted to talk about, specifically the strategy I think that Ikechi and Madison used to disarm their detractors. I think it was a strategy that worked, unfortunately. Oh, and did you all see how David and Madison showed up in their matching green? That was so corny to me. Were they trying to rip off of Camille and Thomas? Corny. But let's just go ahead and start with Camille and Thomas, since they were the first couple to be interviewed. I wasn't too thrilled with the host, by the way, and I can't think of his name, but I wish that Keisha Knight Pulliam would have been there. She would have been perfect. But anyways, I was honestly on my phone for much of their interview, bored again. So bored, in fact. When I looked up and saw them doing parenting classes, I was like, oh my God, Camilla's pregnant. I got excited for a minute, but no, I was not paying attention. She just said she felt like she was made to be a mom, and maybe in a year or so that they would try having a baby. I was a little disappointed, like, oh, I thought she was expecting, but I was glad to see that these two made it and were going strong. I was not a fan of how Camille treated Thomas this season, because my perception of things was that she was treating him like he wasn't black enough. And I felt a way about that because of how I grew up. I lived in a all black neighborhood first, and then we moved, and then it was a predominantly white neighborhood, predominantly white schools. So there weren't very many of us, weren't very many black kids, and it wasn't easy for us. And any kids having to grow up, black kids having to grow up in those types of environments, it can be really challenging. And I felt like I wish that she had been more empathetic towards him and more understanding that, children don't get to choose these types of things. He wasn't a part of the culture, I guess, if you will, or didn't have the, sort of exposure. But that wasn't by choice. People can't help how they grow up and where they grow up. And so I like that Thomas just said at one point on the reunion, I am who I am, and I'm not going to change for anybody. And I'm glad that he didn't, and they kind of stuck through it, and she let go of that, because I don't feel like he should have been treated away because he, maybe in her perception wasn't really part of the culture, or really just wasn't black enough. That's how it was coming across. And I didn't like that he was treated that way, and I felt bad for him. But I'm glad that they moved on from that, and she stopped complaining about him not having enough swag. Anyway, the show should be grateful for Camille and Thomas, because they were the only couple to make it, literally the only couple. And I was like, how sad is that, out of an entire season? This season was a disaster. It was awful. But I bet you money right now, as I'm talking, people are already going online, signing up for the next season, signing up to be a part of this show. I bet you money. Now, on to the next couple. So they set things up like, here comes Mim and Nkechi. Everybody brace yourself, it's going to go down. Then really nothing much went down at all. The energy was visibly shifted here, and I couldn't quite put my finger on what was going on. Was Ikechi really a changed man? Was he taking some accountability here? Why was he coming off in such a favorable light this reunion as opposed to the rest of the season? Was the host giving him softball questions, or was he really sorry for how he treated MM. I mean, he finally just says the thing. He admits he wasn't physically attracted to MM, and she knew. We all knew. Like, yeah, it was obvious. And so finally, he just said the thing. And he said that he regrets using the term aggressive with her. He said he meant it more as she was a go-getter in terms of business. She was fierce. You know, she had a lot of strength. But then when Madison and Alan were brought out, I noticed something similar happening with the two of them. Madison said some really nice things to Alan and was very apologetic. And she said she was grateful he was giving her so much grace despite the circumstances, because he really could just be cursing her out right about now. But he wasn't, because he was a class act, just like I've been saying in these reviews. And she was appreciative of him, and she hoped he was happy in his new relationship. And I was like, wait a minute. Something is going on here with this reunion. I don't think, and this is just my perspective, okay? I don't think Ikechi or Madison were really sorry. I think this was all strategy. And I don't know who might have been in their ear, but to me, it seemed like, first and foremost, Madison and Ikechi and David knew that they were the villains of this season. They were the villains. People hated them all season long, pretty much all season long. And all three of them were about to come on this reunion and get eaten alive. And we, in the audience, were gunning for it. Like, bring them out. So Madison, Ikechi, and David really had no recourse and nowhere to hide. So why not disarm your opponents by appearing to be contrite and apologetic instead of defensive? Because had they been defensive, we would have seen them kind of ganged up on. You know, I mean, they had everybody out on stage and everybody felt that what they did was wrong. But by giving their opponents what they wanted and just being agreeable, like, yes, I was wrong. Yes, I should be sorry. And I am. I apologize. It kind of knocked all the wind out of everybody's sails. The energy just seemed to kind of die down and the fight dissipated. Ikechi, Madison, and David knew that the only way to win in this, or at least come off as somewhat sympathetic, especially to the audience in front of the cameras, was to not give people the fight that they were looking for. And I feel like that worked. Even I felt my feelings shift a little bit towards Ikechi when he was, you know, it seemed like he was being remorseful or apologetic to MM, and the way Madison was talking to Alan, even I felt myself going, oh, I kind of see them in a bit of a different light. They're not so bad. And then I had to catch myself. Wait a minute. But you all tell me what you thought about that exchange between MM and Ikechi. I mean, at one point, MM even regretted reading that letter to Ikechi. She was like, yeah, I feel like that was harsh. You know, and I was kind of like, wait a minute. I thought the letter was perfect. What's happening here? So then we move on to David and Michelle. And again, it's supposed to be this big showdown. Here we go. Here comes the mess. But again, David comes right out with the apologies again to Michelle. Even Michelle was backstage at one point like, you know what? I really think that apology that he gave me was kind of sincere. Like, Michelle kind of felt like, this is feeling a little crazy. So this is my perspective on David. Honestly, I don't know if you all agree or not, but I really just don't think David gives a damn. I mean, I think David feels like in the end, he won and he got everything that he wanted. He found his one, his person, his woman. He is with Madison. He's in love. They're already, I think he's living with Madison now or something like that. And I know Michelle was like, wow, dodged a bullet. And, you know, so I think he's just like, I'm good, right where I want to be. The ends justify the means. Yeah, okay, I guess I could have hurt some people. You know, maybe my friend, Alan, you know, Michelle, who cares? Michelle didn't care about me, so I don't care about her. I just think, you know, like when he was in the dressing room telling Madison, I just can't wait till we wrap filming and get out of here. I think that's why he keeps regurgitating the same thing over and over, so people will stop trying to pull the truth out of him and ask him questions. He does not care. He wants to just move on, Forget all the bad stuff. Just focus on this current relationship. Focus on being happy, and the hell with anybody else that got hurt in the process. So anyway, the host just wants to get down to the brass tacks anyway. David, clarify this timeline, the host says. This is your moment. This is your moment in time to clarify and clear things up. When did you and Madison really start getting together? And we're getting right to the end of the episode. And they're trying to build all this, tension. And David looks at the host and the screen goes black with this to be continued writing. Dum, dum, dum. And I was like, give me a break. Like I said, I don't feel like David's going to reveal anything. What does he have to gain by doing so? He doesn't care. Move on. Again, this reunion to me was boring, but maybe next week there'll be some more revelations. Pastor Cal is going to call out Ikechi's BS, and we're going to see Ikechi walk right off the stage. And Brandon is going to try and marry MM on the show. No, I do not want MM to get married on this show. Absolutely not. This is terrible. This is the worst possible way to get married on a reality TV reunion. Are you kidding me? But maybe I'm just tripping. Maybe it's just me. Do any of you all think this is a good idea? Do you think MM should get married on TV? Are you any of you excited to see this? Did you all think this was a good reunion episode? Let me know. And I will see you all on the next video. Bye.
When they look in my eyes, all they see is pain, but I don't care. Deep in my heart, all the feeling is pain, but I don't care. 'Cause I am a winner. I'm telling myself, I know I can make it.